Yeah, so the idea of Orange Pill App is to build a social layer of Bitcoin that works anywhere and anytime. It's in your pocket. So that's how you meet people like you that are in Bitcoin. That's how we build local communities, which should speed up hyperbitcoinization. That's how we build the Bitcoin circular economy.
Hello and welcome to the Freedom Footprint Show. We're concerned about your freedom footprint and we would like to help you spread as much freedom dioxide as possible. I'm your host, Luke the Pseudo-Finn, and I'm here as always with Knut Svanholm. Good evening, Knut.
Good evening, Luke. Nice to see you again.
And, nice to see you.
Today we have a very special guest. We only have very special guests, but this one is special. This is a very handsome young man from Italy that now lives in California, where he founded a company who's developing an app called the Orange Pill app. And disclaimer here, I am an advisor for the Orange Pill app. So that's how I got to know Matteo. But I took an instant liking to the project because it's all about connecting Bitcoiners in real life so that we get out of our little man caves and meet up in real life instead of just being online all the time. So it's also definitely not a dating app. And Matteo is here to tell us more about that. So welcome, Matteo.
Hey, guys.
Welcome, Matteo.
Hi. Hi, Luke. Hi, Knut.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us. I guess just to start, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the Orange Pill app?
Sure. So I was born on a Tuesday, 9 a.m. in Prato. I'm started from too far. I'm Italian, but born and raised in Italy, and I lived. So I left Italy when I was very young, 21. Moved to London, 7 years. Came back to Italy for I don't know why, but I did, and then moved to New York, and then moved to LA. I got a family, and now I live in the middle of nowhere in California. So that's kind of my story. I always been interested in technology, and I had a couple of companies, a couple of startups. So that's about me.
California doesn't count as middle of nowhere. That would be the middle of somewhere, I guess.
No, but I mean the middle of nowhere inside California.
Okay, so the middle of nowhere somewhere. Somewhere in the middle of somewhere, nowhere, somewhere. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. And so you started this. Where and when did you get the idea for the Orange Pill app? And what made you decide to actually follow up on that idea and make something out of it?
Right. So it was April, I think, maybe March 2022. And I was driving by where I used to live in Santa Monica. And I look around and I see all this building, all these houses. And I'm like, where are all the plebs? Like, where are all the Bitcoiners in Santa Monica? Because, I didn't know anybody except my friends that I orange pilled myself. So I didn't know any other plebs from outside my circle. I'm like, there's got to be more plebs around here that I don't know. But how do I find these people? So that was the idea. And then a couple of weeks later, one of my friends called me and said, hey, I need to talk to you. I want to talk to you about an app that I'm building. I said, yeah, sure. So we meet and he tells me, I'm building this app that is a dating app for active people. Like, if you're a surfer, you want to date a surfer. So in the back of my mind, it's like, dating, geolocation. I say, that's how you meet people nearby. And so that was the inception. Like, okay, this is this is how I could meet other people nearby that are in Bitcoin. Of course, then the next problem was, to me, it was, first of all, for a week, I guess it was dating up, maybe 2 weeks. I was like, oh yeah, I'm dating for Bitcoin. It's like, why wouldn't you want to date a Bitcoiner? Because at that time I was dating, and I was like, and my girlfriend was not a Bitcoiner. So I had to spend a lot of time to convert her. And I'm like, wouldn't it be nice if I met a Bitcoin, a woman that is already in Bitcoin, right? But then obviously the big problem was that I quickly realized that women in Bitcoin are more finite than Bitcoin itself. And so yeah, maybe this is not gonna work at a dating app, but it could work as a networking / friendship / dating. So all together. So the goal is how to meet people in Bitcoin nearby, no matter the reasons. Just how do you meet them? And then if you want to go on a date, if it's a date, great. If you want to make friends, great. If you want to start a business, like a Bitcoin business, and you need to look for a co-founder or a developer, a designer, whatever it may be. And so that's the inception story.
Yeah, cool. And how did you find it? Because you're not a developer yourself, right?
I can barely send an email.
Barely send an email. So how did you find people to build the actual thing for you?
Right.
Was it the guy that showed you the thing in the first place?
It's a good story. So actually, he was a co-founder for 2 weeks. However, the problem was that he's not on Bitcoin. So every single meeting we had, so he's a technical person, and he already built apps before, very similar to dating, networking. I was like, oh man, great, let's do this together. We're friends. I know you can build it, and I know I can reach Bitcoiners, because I spend all the time talking about Bitcoin and et cetera, et cetera. But because he was not a Bitcoiner, every single meeting, he was kind of like confused on why Bitcoiners would need an app to meet Bitcoiners. And I kept telling him, look, this is not like I play tennis and you play tennis, but then we disagree on everything else. Bitcoin, it's you could say it's kind of a religion, or it's a movement, whatever you want to call it. It's a set of ideas. So if I know you're in Bitcoin, I can safely assume a lot of things about you, like what are your views about freedom? What are your views about the government? And what are your views about life values, right? And so because it wouldn't get it, 2 weeks later, after we got started, like, look, man, this is not gonna work. But thankfully, I had worked with developers before. In my previous life, I built apps with other developers, and I found after I found a lot of bad ones, I found really good developers in Italy, which is not the place where you expect to find developers. Actually, not just in Italy. One of the developers is from my hometown, which is amazing. I come from a 20,000 people town in Italy, close to Florence, and I've hired developers from Canada to Slovenia to obviously Bangladesh, the United Kingdom, pretty much all over the place. And most of them I had to fire. Some of them I had to sue. It's not easy. And then I found these two guys in Florence. One is from my hometown, and they were like amazing. And I was kind of desperate, like, whatever. At least you're close to me. And then, so I built apps before with these two guys, super, very, very, very talented. And then so when this co-founder, we found out that it was not a good idea to get this together, I called them up, say, hey guys, let's do this together, pitch the idea. And I knew, because I worked with them for like a decade, so I knew they could build it. And so, so I had the developers before. Otherwise, it's very hard to find good developers.
All right. What's a bit more about your background? What's your education? What's your background?
Sure. So my interest has always been, since I was very young, there's always been business, economics, how to make money. That's always been my, the story that everybody tells me in my family is that when I was 5 years old, I would go into my grandmother's garden and I would pick the strawberries. And then I would go to my grandmother and I would sell them, and I would sell her own strawberries.
That sounds like shitcoining.
Yeah, it was a yield farming business. So since I was little, everybody was kind of making fun of me. Like they would give me like the Financial Times when I was 6. Read the Financial Times. Tell us about this. I was always been the kind of the kid that's, And so high school, I didn't really like what I was studying. But there was one class in high school that was economics, and I loved it. So because I was really into that, I was reading the books, and I was reading more than I should supposed to be. And so after high school, I passed with the lowest possible grade. The dean told me, "Look, we're gonna pass you because we don't want to see you again." And I was a little rebel. So I graduated from high school. And then I studied economics in University of Florence, and I loved it. And so I got a degree in 2006. And at that same time, I also started my first real business that was selling clothing online, eBay. Actually, I think I was probably one of the first Alibaba customer in Europe, most likely. So we were importing clothes from Indonesia, get into Italy, and sell them online on eBay. It was a great business. I was 19. I was making more than my mother and my father combined. I was studying economics. It was a great time. But then I went to London one weekend, and I fell in love with London. And in my head, I was like, okay, when you get your degree, you got to move to London. And so this is what happened. So I had this business with one of my friends. I got the degree at 21, 22, and it's like, oh, you gotta go to London now. So I had a business and a degree, but my brain was like, forget about this, just go to London. So after I moved to London, I obviously stay in touch with my friend, ex-business partner, and we found out that if you ship the clothing from Indonesia to the UK, and then from the UK to Italy, somehow you don't pay custom fees. And so my partner said, look, man, I'm going to ship all the boxes to you in London, and then you change the label and send me to Italy. I said, yeah, why not? Sure, great idea. And so I would get boxes almost every day to this place where I was living in London. And I would ship to him to Italy, because obviously this is before Brexit, right? So there was free flow of goods in Europe. And then while I was doing that, I found out there was this company in the UK that basically had contracts with the courier services like UPS, DHL, and they were reselling online, obviously for a profit. And I couldn't get it out of my head. I was like, this is such a good business idea, right? Because you don't have to just make a website, and then people will come to the website, book the shipment, pay you, and then you kind of resell to the courier, and they do the transportation. So the more I thought about it, the more I think, I have to try this. I have to do this. So after Christmas 2008, I started this business, which was my most successful business. Huge success. I was the first in Italy, and at some point I became the biggest customer in all of Italy of a courier service, which now doesn't exist anymore. But if you're from Europe, you probably remember it's TNT. They used to have like orange. By the way, they have orange. The logo was orange. And so I became, it was a big business, and and then I started attracting competition, many competitors. And then at some point, this is crazy when I think about it, but then 4 years down the line, TNT, which was a multi-billion-dollar company, call me and say, we need to meet you. We need to talk to you. Okay, sure. So I fly to Italy. Okay, sure. So I get to the meeting. And basically they told me, look, you're too successful. So we're going to copy your business. And I'm like, really? And they were my biggest supplier. At that point, I had more suppliers. So I was diversifying my suppliers, but there were maybe 70-80% of my business went through them. And they told me pretty much overnight, we're gonna go from being suppliers to being competitors.
Whoa.
Which was quite shocking. So I went back to London and I was like, this is not gonna end up well. So I found a buyer for the company. I found a buyer for the company and I sold the company. So 2013, I moved back to Italy. I moved to Milan because I wanted to start Uber in Milan. But Uber was not in Milan. Actually, I don't think it was in Europe at all, right? So I wanted to start a taxi app in Italy because I was using a taxi app in London, right? So I was like, yeah, that's great. Like, who wants to be on the phone and wait for the taxi? Move back to Milan and say, okay, let's bring this model to Italy, right? Which was not a good idea. Which was not a good idea because in Italy, the taxi unions are very, very strong, unlike in London. And also I made this is the thing that I learned later in life, that you learn more from failure than success.
Absolutely. Which is why it's so sad that the government is so eager to remove that from people.
Yeah. Yeah.
The responsibility.
Sure. Yeah. So because I had this successful company, the shipping company. And you see, again, success is not a great teacher, especially because I didn't have any failure at that point. My clothing business was great, and so I had two businesses at that point. The clothing one, which I spoke to my business partner, was great, and the shipping business, which was a huge business, and I sold it was great. So in my head, I was like, yes, I'm like Steve Jobs, right? I know everything about business. I cannot fail. So that was my mindset in the taxi app when I was building the taxi app, right? And obviously, that's not how it went. The app didn't work pretty much, and the app didn't work. And then maybe 2 months later, Uber came to Italy with billions of dollars. But anyway, the app didn't work, so it's like, Jesus. So that's how I learned how app development is, because so the app didn't work. I kind of sold the company, and then I moved to. It's like, what am I gonna do in Italy? I can't. It's not for me. So I moved to New York. And at that point, obviously, I'm skipping part, but at that point, I already found the good developers in Florence, and I built another app. And the other app was indoor food delivery service, which basically I was at the stadium watching soccer or football, and in Florence, because at the time I was living in Italy, and I'm looking at the guy, they're shouting popcorn, Coke, drinks, right? And it's going around the stadium like a madman, shouting. And I was like, why don't we have an app where I can tell the guy, here's where I'm seated, bring me popcorn, whatever, It's 2013 at that point, everybody has smartphones. And it's like, okay, let's build this app. So I moved to New York in 2014. And I ended up working with the biggest Broadway agency, Schubert, which are great people. And they use this app for the intercession. So people go to the theater, overcrowded, long lines. And I'm like, why don't you use this app so people can order in advance? And then at intercession, instead of doing the line, They just go and pick up whatever they want. They already pays with the app, right? And so I work with them. The technology worked, but the people didn't really like using the app. So I sold the technology to Schubert, and I moved out of LA. So I moved out of New York because I didn't like the winter. I hated the winter in New York. So we drove with my ex-wife all the way to LA. And then that's 2016. And then 2016, 2022, I had no business, no apps. I was kind of like in a IHS mode. I did some sales. And that's how we ended up in 2022 with the Orange Pill app.
What a fascinating story. It's like a hero's journey with ups and downs and everything, and like reflecting on your life and then finding another path. A couple of things that come to mind when you tell your story. First of all, there's so much fiat and politics like influencing the chain of events. Like, for instance, that thing with shipping from Indonesia to the UK and then to Italy.
Right.
That loophole is only there because the borders were there in the first place, and because they made, because the tariffs were obviously too high if it was cheaper for you to ship to England and then to Italy. Yeah. So there's so much in politics that has these unintended consequences. And they're simply everywhere because people change their behavior to adapt to whatever system they find themselves in, and that's why all of these shenanigans happen, and why people are able to make money off of something that you're making money because you're making it easier for people to not have to deal with the bullshit that the politicians put in their way. So it's very weird in that way. And when you say you were, another thing I thought about when you said you were so interested in economics and it was also your hobby, I guess what you learned in the university was mostly mainstream economics.
Oh yeah.
So
zero mention of Austrian economics whatsoever.
Yeah, but I guess you fell into that rabbit hole too. I'm just guessing now, but I guess you're into Austrian economics now, being interested in Bitcoin and economics. So how did you find that, and like what did that do to you, and how you viewed the world before and after? Like, is there a story there?
Oh, there's I guess that's the story how I discovered Bitcoin and how I ignored Bitcoin, obviously, for a long time. Because obviously my background didn't help me understand Bitcoin. Actually, my background prevented me from understanding Bitcoin because, I was taught Keynesian economics, the government is in charge, the supply and demand, blah, 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 blah. Inflation is good. As you guessed, I pretty sure nobody ever mentioned me. And I studied economics in 2004, 5, and 6. So this is before the iPhone, this is before, and I was in Italy, so the internet was there, but it wasn't exactly like you can, I don't know, Wikipedia maybe didn't exist, I don't remember, but anyway, I wasn't much on the internet anyway. So I had no knowledge of Austrian economics whatsoever. I didn't even know that the government could lie to you, to be honest. I was like, yeah, sure. This is how it works. Okay, sounds good to me. And so that was my knowledge. And then in 2012, one of my friends, I was living in London. Yes, I was living in London, and I had a friend I have a friend in Switzerland, and he's a super smart guy, he's a nerd, and he's a quant analyst, right? And he tells me about Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, I remember very well, was $5. This is 2012, maybe even 2011, I don't remember. But I remember the price was $5. So obviously I tell the guy, oh, it's a scam. That's the first reaction that I had. Yeah, sure, it's a scam,
Everyone's first reaction.
Yeah, exactly. So I told the guy, it's a scam. don't bother me with this stuff. I completely rejected it. And that's a $5. Then the year later, 2013, I was dating this American woman, and she told me about Bitcoin again. And Bitcoin was, I think, was $120. And I told this woman, say, do not buy it. It's too late. And obviously, I didn't do any research, as you can imagine. Also, 2013, there was not really much. I don't think, maybe, of course, Antonopoulos was there, but
it was pretty hard to hold your own keys and like
yeah.
It was the interfaces were pretty hard. You basically had to run Bitcoin Core and understand it in order to.
Yeah, exactly. But I think
it was for technical people, but for few others.
I think in 2013, Coinbase already existed because she showed me Coinbase, I remember.
Yeah, but that's not your Bitcoin.
Well, sure, but at that point, I didn't know anything. So, I did, but better. So I told her, do not buy Bitcoin. It's too late. You're going to lose all your money. So I actively prevented her to buy Bitcoin. And then...
is that why she's not your friend anymore?
Yeah. Probably. And then, obviously, then there was a bear market that I didn't know, but nobody told me about Bitcoin for another 2-3 years. And then 2015, I created a Twitter account for the first time. And I ended up following this guy he was in all the conspiracy theories you can think of. Flat Earth, moon, everything you name it, he was into that. And he was into Bitcoin. And I'm like, here we go. So now in my head, I'm thinking, I was right to think it was a scam because this guy, which is obviously a nutcase, is telling me every single day to buy Bitcoin.
Who was that?
I can't remember the name. But it's not a famous Bitcoin.
Turns out he was right about 80% and completely wrong about the other 20.
It's not
correct.
It's not Citadine or
Okay.
Antonopoulos. It was just a random guy that I ended up following. I don't even remember why. But he was telling every day, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. So one day I'm like, you know what? Let's just buy Bitcoin. So I download Coinbase, made an account, I bought Bitcoin. $20, $30, nothing, right? Just to make him happy, right? Whatever. Just in case he was right. Let's put it that way. Then I deleted the app, forgot about it, whatever. And then summer of 2017, that's when everything changed. Summer of 2017, I was on Twitter because I was spending a lot of time on Twitter. And I read Naval thread about Bitcoin. So Naval from Naval Ravikant, AngelList, right? And because of my background in technology and business, I knew about Naval. And I knew that, super rich guy, very successful, very, very smart guy. So I'm reading this thread, and I'm like, something is not adding up here. Why is this guy promoting a scam? Because in my head, it's still a scam, right? And so this is like probably 1 a.m, because this is a famous thread. You probably read it. And I'm like, tomorrow morning when I wake up, I need to find out what's going on with Bitcoin. So from that day, you can say that's when I entered the rabbit hole. Summer 2017. So the next morning I wake up and I go back to Coinbase, right? Because that's what I got my Bitcoin. I obviously don't know the password, get the password back, and I open it, and it's $160. And I'm like, how is this bought? I bought $20, and this is $160. So this is like 100% increase. So keep in mind that I have a background in economics, and I also invested in stocks when I was young, and I know nothing goes up 8x in a year, right? So this is all my brain telling me, you were right. It is a scam. Because why does it go up so much, right? Nothing legit goes up this much. But again, because of Naval, I Naval was like kind of like the angel on my shoulder, saying, "No, look into this, don't worry about the price." So that's how I fall down the rabbit hole. And then 2017, obviously, as we all know, price goes up 20,000, and maybe at that point I bought one Bitcoin. I don't remember, but I start buying. I'm not all in by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm start buying, and then Bitcoin goes to 20,000. And I'm texting my friends, check the price, check the price. And then obviously January 2018 crashes. Yep. So the genius that I am, I figured out a way to lose a lot of money. So after Bitcoin start crashing, I obviously, because I'm on Coinbase, I am exposed to the shitcoins. Wait.
I've heard this story before, I guess, from other people.
Yeah. I'm sure I'm not the only one. So I'm like, okay, here's what's going on. Because also I had two problems. One, I have a degree in economics. Two, I have a good knowledge about technology, because I started technology companies. And that didn't help me at all, because I thought that Bitcoin was old technology and then shitcoins were new technology. Because I know that in technology, this is how it goes. The first technology is never the best one, right?
This is fantastic, because it puts the finger on so many misconceptions. And we all have our journey. Go on.
So here's what happens. So I'm thinking, okay, I get it. Bitcoin is good. Naval is great, but Bitcoin is going to be like MySpace, and then some shitcoin is going to be Facebook. Right? That's my thinking. And so I had this plan, and this is a true story. I would go. So this is January 2018, and I was living in LA by then. And I would go take my laptop, go to the library. There's a library at the university where I live. I go to the library every single morning, right? This is my strategy. Open CoinMarketCap. Check the first 100 shitcoins, which obviously I don't call shitcoins back then, right? And the strategy was, if a shitcoin has gone down 10% or more yesterday, I would buy it.
Ouch.
This is at the beginning of the bear market, okay? Then, wait, so I'm in this library with the headset, there's all kids around me studying, and I'm on Binance, buying shitcoins. I'm listening to like Crypto Love and all these shitcoin YouTube accounts, right? And they're all Moneros, the next Dash. So every day I'm buying a shitcoin that is in a top 100 that has gone down 10% or more the day before. So you can, since we're at the beginning of the bear market, so you can imagine how many shitcoins I end up owning.
Yeah, so, and they all just begun crashing.
Right,
10%.
Yeah,
then 10%. They lost 90% more.
Yeah, remember, I have a degree in economics, so I think 10% is a lot, right?
Yeah.
So I think, wow, 10%, it's a great discount. So basically I had this highly diversified shitcoin hedge fund that I was running. 2 months in, my small brain figured out that maybe this is not a great idea. So I bought probably 50, 60 shitcoins, all on Binance. I have a VPN because you can even use Binance in the US, and I'm doing all this stuff. So I bought all the shitcoins, and then February, March, as price keep crashing down, I said to myself, okay, look, forget about Bitcoin and forget about shitcoins. Just forget about all of this.
Still confused at that point.
Oh yeah, very confused, very, very confused. But there is still Naval in the back of my mind, right?
Yeah.
And so I closed this hedge fund. And then summer of 2018, Seyfedin published the Bitcoin standard.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, it's an economist, interesting, I should read this book, right? Because it's an economist, so I trust, because I have a degree in economics, I instinctively trust him that he would tell me what's going on. And so summer of 2018, I got this book, thank God. And I read this book, and I was like, and this was my introduction to Austrian economics, because before then I had never heard of Austrian economics or Mises or Rothbard, nothing at all. And that was my re-entry to the rabbit hole without already being burned by shitcoins. It's like, okay, I understand the shitcoins. And now I understand why there is a word shitcoin. And now Seyfedin is opening another door to the Bitcoin rabbit hole, because Naval, his original thread, it was not just Bitcoin, it was also about crypto. It was about crypto in general, so which probably didn't help me. So I read this book summer 2018, and I remember, and I'm like, wow, this is not what I learned in university about economics at all. So in my head, there is battles going on while I'm reading this book. Like, is this guy right? Is this guy what he's saying is right or not? So I'm debating with myself. But then I clearly remember Christmas of 2018. I would give Christmas card to my friends. And at that point, I'm working at a car dealership. I'm selling cars, right? One of the best jobs I ever had. Actually, I didn't have many jobs. The funnest job I ever had. So anyway, I'm at this car dealership. I'm selling cars, having a lot of fun. And then I would give a Christmas card to my colleagues. And at the end of it, I would say, P.S., buy Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was maybe 3,000, 4,000, right? So that's, for me, in my head, is like, okay, this is when I really started understanding Bitcoin, because I was actually telling people to buy Bitcoin. And obviously in 2018, people were like, what are you talking about? Bitcoin just crashed from 20,000 to 4,000, and you want me to buy Bitcoin? So I had a lot of pushback, but I convinced my mother to buy one Bitcoin. And other people say, look, just buy one. It's so cheap, 3,000, 4,000, just buy one, right? So 2018, end of 2018 is when, I'm not in shitcoin anymore, obviously. I'm not a maxi by any stretch of it, but I'm starting to get in it. And then 2018, 2019, I'm buying more and more. I'm reading more and more, listening to podcasts. I'm going down the rabbit hole, like, for real. Listen to all the podcasts, Breedlove, Livera, Seyfedin, you name it. I'm on Twitter 24/7. Like, even when I'm working, I'm on Twitter 24/7. I'm on Bitcoin Twitter 24/7. And then Michael Saylor shows up. August 2020. I remember the date. August 12, 2020. It shows up, and it's an opposite. As you know, it says, I'm converting my entire balance sheet into Bitcoin. And at that point, I'm 95% in Bitcoin. Like, I have no dollars left. I have little dollars. So I'm almost all in, right? And then I see this guy. It's like, wow, CEO, public company, super smart guy, going all in Bitcoin. I was like, if he's all in, I'm gonna go all in too. So, and I remember, because I went back to look at the dates of my purchases. At that point, I'm not buying on Coinbase anymore. I'm buying on River and Swan. And I look back, and you can see 12 August 2020, my purchases just ramped up. I sold my house because I was getting divorced. I sold the house, so I had a little bit of cash. And I remember I was asking my friends, hey, I need to buy Bitcoin, but there's limits on these exchanges. Can I send you the money and you can buy Bitcoin for me and then send it to me, right? So I'm trying to buy as many Bitcoin as possible, as fast as possible, right? Because I'm thinking 9,000, wow, it's going to go obviously to 100,000. So August, September of 2020, it's when I became a Bitcoin maxi. I don't want any dollars. Don't get every dollars that I could get, I would immediately convert to Bitcoin. I didn't care about the price anymore. It's like, I would tell people, because then I've learned from Sailor, why would you owe dollars when at that point, what I learned from Sailor, it's like electricity, like, Bitcoin is like electricity. Why would you have candles when you can have electricity? There's no need for candles. So take all the dollars, convert to Bitcoin, and have my friends buy Bitcoin for me, blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, so that's how I guess I became a Bitcoin max. That's my Bitcoin story.
That's so fascinating, and there's so much. I thank you first of all for being so open with it and telling people about your failures too, because I blame your fiat economics education on a lot of this. Like, you had a degree in Keynesian economics, basically. So in
government economics.
In government economics, and that prevented that in itself, put together with some success in the fiat world. You had success because of problems that were created by the fiat world, and you solved them in the fiat world using the fiat system. And those things taken together made you not only not see Bitcoin for what it was, but it made you shitcoin. And it made you think that investing in shitcoins when they had dropped 10% in value was a good idea. Your fiat education did that to you. This is so mind-blowing how destructive telling people untruthful things really is. Because that's what it is. It's based on a lie. Keynesian economics is based on a lie. It's based on the lie that inflation is good for society, and that we need it in order for money to have velocity at all, which is just not the case. And you can see that from deflationary assets that are sold more than ever. I mean, electronics still drop in price over time. The price per gigabyte goes down over time, and you can still sell.
Telling everybody, like, when people tell me, but in a deflationary monetary system, like commerce will stop existing. I'm like, did you ever buy a computer? Did you ever buy
exactly, and it's wicked. Yeah. But then again, I think with many of these things, I try not to be a conspiracy theorist, because I think the easy way out is always to just say that the literal opposite of what you were told is the truth. So that's why flat Earth theories and such are so easy to people cling on to the exact opposite when they realize they haven't been told the whole truth. But I think it's more on the lines of convenience. So if a narrative is good for a certain actor in the market, in this case the government, then that following that strategy and promoting that will win in the long run. So governments that clung on to Keynesian economics and promoted it could make a lot of money from doing so. Of course, it's good for a government if the people in the country believe that the more they pay them, the better off they'll be. Then they can loot the country of practically every resource that's in it. But this is such a fascinating example of what's wrong with the system and why it's so destructive to everything. Because in doing all this, you're obviously a talented entrepreneur that wants to come up with ideas that make life easier for people, and you're confronted with all of these hurdles that are put up in front of you for no good reason whatsoever, and you try to remove the hurdles, but you're injected with this fiat education that tells you should focus on completely arbitrary things and completely stupid things instead of seeing the real technological advancement that is right in front of your eyes. And because, as you said, you you had your first look at Bitcoin when it was at $5 in 2011 or 2012. So imagine, and the same is true for me, by the way. I guess I learned about it a little later and I hopped on a little earlier. But if I'm totally honest to myself, it's more luck than insight, a lot of it. And, I had a shitcoining phase. I lost the fantastic sum of $10 in total on shitcoins because I bought 10 different.
You did better than me, trust me.
Yeah, and 8 of them went down and 2 went up, and I figured I'm never going to be able to guess which ones are going down and which ones are going up. So I better just stick to Bitcoin. So that's that. But still, I think the harm that this economics degree cost you is just unfathomable in hindsight, right? Because it was that prevented you from seeing this. Imagine if instead, when you went to the university, instead of giving you Keynes books, they would have given you Mises and Rothbard and Hopin and Hayek and so on. Imagine how much earlier you would have bought into Bitcoin.
I probably would have also sold it, but it's a story like knowing myself. If I bought at $5, I most likely would have sold at $15. Because it's hard to even have conviction in the long run. But the government, obviously, I went to, in Italy, schools are pretty much public. Like even university, it's. Like tuition, but it's very low. Like
like everywhere in Europe.
Why would the government teach you? The government shouldn't be in charge of the money.
No, so they're never incentivized to do so.
Yeah,
because they're not your tutors; they're your kidnappers. That's how bad this is.
Yeah.
So, but it takes a lot to figure that out, because and that insight can be very depressing. But reading Austrian economics can make you very, very happy and hopeful, because you see that despite all of this looting that is going on everywhere, with central banks and governments, the free market still finds a way to make most people's lives bearable anyway. Like we still have at least in the developed world, but anyway, there's so much good out there if you just choose to see it. So
it's a battle. It is between evil and good, or right or wrong. It's always been the case for humans. There's always a group of people that want to take power over other groups of people.
Yeah,
and it's but talking about Austrian economics, something funny happened. Once I started reading Austrian economics, it was kind of like, this is so simple, because getting a degree in Keynesian economics it's more difficult because it's all convoluted. That's something that I never realized until I learned about Austrian economics. The Keynesian economics, it's a very convoluted system. Inflation, debasement, money supply, deficit, all this kind of stuff that you have to learn about, and not only learn about, you have to learn why they're right, which is very difficult because they're not. So it's kind of like, imagine if you were studying physics, and somebody wanted to convince you that gravity is the opposite of what it is. But then you go into the real world and you see gravity all the time, but you have to come up with a formula that is so convoluted that it makes gravity go up instead of down. Like, how hard would it be to learn that kind of gravity? That's pretty much what it is. Yeah. That's pretty much what Keynesian economics is. Like, they have to muddy the water so much with all this formula and all this concept that's so, kind of difficult, because they can't tell you the truth. The government shouldn't be in charge of the money. The free market there should be a fixed amount of money. You don't need to expanding the base monetary system. So
they're basically telling you that gravity is pulling everything on the surface of the Earth towards the sun, because the sun is bigger than the Earth. And if we didn't have the government here to save us, government anchors everything to the Earth, and if they didn't exist, we couldn't exist.
Yeah, so you have to learn the system. Yeah, you have to learn the system if you want to get a degree, which is mind-blowing. And then as I learned about Austrian economics, it's like, but this is so simple. I learned this, I read economic lessons. What is the name?
Economics in one lesson.
Economics in one lesson, right? Like this book, this big.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is so easy. Like this is, and also because I had businesses, so I've seen people buying and selling. I have a first-hand knowledge of economics in real life because I've sold services and products and that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, but that makes, and I was like, makes perfect sense. Like
it does.
It's like it's mind blowing how much you can be brainwashed pretty much by the government, and then you don't even know you're brainwashed, obviously, until somebody tell you, hey, it's like the magician trick, right? Hey, this is the trick, and once you see it, you can't unsee it.
No, exactly. And like most people get past some of the hurdles, but they get stuck somewhere very basic too. Like for instance, if you and I are selling two products, and I am better than you at making both the products,
right?
We still benefit from me doing what I'm best at and you doing what you're best at.
Right. Yeah.
So the total output for both of us will be higher if I specialize and focus what I'm better at, even though I'm better at making both the products.
Of course.
And this very basic thing is the government doesn't want you to realize that. I think, because they think if they did, there wouldn't be minimum wage laws, for instance. That wouldn't exist if people just accepted that we're both better off doing
minimum wage. Is anti-economic anyway. Minimum wage laws are anti-economic.
In a free market without interventionism and running on sound money, there's no unemployment. There can't be. Only voluntary unemployment. Because there's always...
They're running on sound money, they wouldn't be unemployed.
No, there couldn't be. Because there's always someone willing to pay you for doing something rather than nothing. It could be insanely shit. I mean, there's always...
Sure.
It will balance itself out. And if there's unemployment, it's voluntary on the unemployed person's part. Like,
somebody that will be kind of $5 probably is unemployed.
Yeah,
and
no, it's so people have such a skewed picture of this thing, and
it's the matrix. It's the matrix.
Yeah, and
it's the matrix.
It is, and that's why orange pill. It's such a good synonym. It comes from the Matrix meme, of course. And the Matrix really, upon rewatching, you realize how insanely good that movie is, and how weird it is that those people could never make a good movie again, or nothing they ever made after the Matrix is comes even close to how brilliant the Matrix is.
You're talking about the directors or in general?
Yeah, the directors mainly, and the people who wrote all the follow-ups and the other movies they made are worthless in comparison. Because the Matrix is really a classic. It's brilliant through and through.
Yeah, the 90s is the best. I mean, I keep telling everybody. Obviously, I'm biased because I was born in '84, so in the 90s I was a teenager. But I keep telling the 90s is the best decade we had in a long, long time. We had the best movies, all the good movies.
But I agree. I was born in the middle of the 70s, and I think like the early 90s and late 80s, that's peak movies and peak music and peak peak, like everything
culture.
creative. Yeah, peak culture.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Cool. Anyway, well, Luke, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, Matteo, your orange pill story has a lot of commonalities to mine. You found it earlier, but it was the same people, Sailor and Seyfedin, that really did it for me. And I think the two of them are powerful orange pillars for people who have the desire to learn in the way that they present it. So yeah, I appreciated hearing your story.
Yeah, definitely. Seyfedin and Sailor, yeah. You know, there's something that I remember after I read the Bitcoin Standard. Obviously, I follow Seyfedin on Twitter. And there is something that always kind of bothered me. Because he would say Bitcoin fixes everything. And I'm like, come on, man. I like your book. I understand Bitcoin, but you're overselling it, right?
Yeah.
And then as I went down the rabbit hole, I found myself agreeing more and more and more and more with this statement, which was like, wow, And then I went back to see Seyfedin and said, maybe it's right about other stuff too, because, I did, I was kind of bothered, Bitcoin fixes everything, Bitcoin fixes this and this and this. But yeah, then it's funny how the more you learn about Bitcoin and the problem it solves, which is, you could say, it's the biggest problem that we have in humanity.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, fiat and all the second order and third order consequence and fourth and fifth and seventh, it's a ripple through society that probably never ends. It's funny how, you're kind of pulled to the Bitcoin maxi, if you want to call it that way, Bitcoin only, Bitcoin fixes everything, which sounds ridiculous on its face, right? It sounds ridiculous on its face to say that something that some code on a blockchain fixes everything. It's kind of ridiculous, right?
Well, not if you understand the importance of money in society.
Right. But exactly. But it takes a long time and a lot of studying to get to the place where, money is at the base layer of pretty much everything. And so if money is corrupted, that means that society is corrupted. And so if you fix money, then you fix society.
Yeah. And
but it's not easy. It's not easy to accept that.
To illustrate it, let's use that example, the famous Milton Friedman example of the simple pencil that couldn't have come into existence if it wasn't for free trade. And turns out it couldn't have come into existence if money hadn't existed either. Because every part of it, the wood that it's made of, the yellow paint on the outside, the little brass thing on the edge, on the top edge, and the rubber for the rubber, and for the eraser on top, and the graphite lead sort of material in the center of the pencil. The fact that it's hexagonal and that it has been constructed in that way, the black paint for the little text that's on the side of it, none of those parts were decided by or designed by a committee and then produced by that same committee. Everyone, the things in the pencil probably came from different continents, and the only reason why people produced all the materials and put it together, including the glue that holds it all together, was because they were paid to do so at some step in the chain. And if we were living in a barter economy where there was no money, we would never have come to even the saw to chop down the tree to extract the wood to construct the pencil. Because to construct a saw, you need someone to dig up iron ore, smelt it down and turning it into steel, and someone to sharpen the edges, and then attaching it to a bow and everything. And we wouldn't even have gotten there if there wasn't if a medium of exchange hadn't been used, because then we would never have gotten past the problems of divisibility and the double coincidence of needs, which makes it very unlikely that a saw would ever have come into existence. So without money, there will be civilization can't get past the very basic stages of advancement and technology. We would still be cavemen without money. So this is how important this thing is.
Right.
And when that's fucked in one way or another, you cripple society in so many ways. Because and there are so many exponential effects that are left out that we never get to see because you don't let them because we're not letting them happen, since we allow some sociopaths to run a money printer and take stuff from us all the time. So if you fix that, and if you make it impossible for people to inflate the money supply, you fix everything. It's absolutely 100% true. You can fix every problem by fixing the money.
It's pretty much, it's incredible.
Yeah.
You know,
and
it's incredible.
And if you don't see that, you don't see it, as you say, if you're raised by fiat education and mainstream media and whatever, it's very hard to see that. But when you see it, you can't unsee it. When you understand how important money is and how much better we could be off if we had something akin to perfect money, then there's no going back. So
the way I tell some people is like, look, Bitcoin is like gravity in economics. Somebody invented, discovered, whatever, gravity in economics. Now, you can ignore it, obviously, because we've been ignoring for, I guess, 1971 or whatever. But at some point, you have to deal with the fact that there is gravity in the world. So
yes,
the price is completely relevant, obviously. The price, it's like, what is the price of gravity? There's no price of gravity, right? There's no price of, it's just, we have gravity in economics for the first time ever, I would argue. And so we, Bitcoin, we're just waiting for the rest of the world to catch up. You know?
Yeah, it's like that Ayn Rand quote, you can choose to deny reality, right, but you can't choose to deny the effects of denying reality.
Exactly.
So you're going to have to cope sooner or later with this thing existing. You have it's there. Adapt.
It's quite mind blowing. I mean, it's that's why I started this company, this app, because once you understand Bitcoin, you cannot do anything but think about Bitcoin. It's life consuming, and so you want to meet some. And the problem is that most people don't have the time to go down the rabbit hole or the curiosity or whatever it may be.
No, they think they don't have the time to, but when in fact the opposite is true. They don't have the time to not fall into the rabbit hole. Yeah. That's the big misconception there too.
Yeah, but whatever the case may be, the point is that we're still early in Bitcoin, and so most people in your life are not going to be Bitcoin maxi or Bitcoin, whatever you want to call them. And how do you find more people like you? How do you find, because we are humans and we all want to connect with people like us, whether it's politics or religion or sport or concert, you name it, right? That's what humans do. We coalesce around ideas. I think there was a study once, which is quite ridiculous. It's like they take 100 strangers, they put in a room, and then they tell them, oh, you are odd numbers and you are even numbers, completely arbitrarily. And then people that they have assigned odd numbers, they will start making friends with other people that assign odd numbers.
Yeah.
Which is just the way humans are. It's just human nature, right?
Tribal creatures.
No matter how silly it is, we want to be. Also, obviously there's an evolutionary reason why we need to be in a tribe. Anyway, so
but if you can build a tribe around gravity, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea, right? And so, how do you find people that have done through the journey of falling down the rabbit hole like you have, which is not easy to do because most people don't go to meetup, conference, very expensive, and then even then, if you go to a conference or a meetup, everybody's in Bitcoin. What are you gonna say? Oh, I'm in Bitcoin. Okay, me too. Like everybody's competing from the same attention once you go to a meetup or a conference, and so even if there's 1,000 people, how many people are you gonna meet? 10, 5, 15. So the idea of Orange Spill Up is to kind of build a social layer of Bitcoin that works anywhere and anytime. It's in your pocket, right? It's in your pocket. So that's how you meet people like you that are in Bitcoin. That's how we build local communities, which should speed up hyperbitcoinization. That's how we build the Bitcoin circular economy, right? Because the example that I always say to investors or people that I talk to, look, if you're a dentist and you're also a Bitcoin maxi, you're not going to make a website that says, hey, I'm a Bitcoin maxi dentist. Nobody's going to do that. But you will download the app and you make an account and you pay $5 a month or $3, whatever it may be, so that you can advertise your services to other Bitcoiners. And now I can find the dentist and I can pay in sats.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And to that, speaking about the app, now that we're finally arrived at talking about the app, I think the question that is on a lot of people's minds, and we've talked about this before, what they don't get about this is that the app does not give any exact location to any third party. That's not how the app works. So can you give us a brief walkthrough through the privacy aspects of the app?
Absolutely. So obviously, we're Bitcoin masters, so we're very privacy focused. As a matter of fact, I personally never used my real name online before I started this company. I always been a very privacy focused kind of person because I always kind of thought that the internet is going to be used in ways that are not going to be ethical, obviously cancel culture and all that kind of stuff. So privacy is obviously a big focus of the app. So we really don't ask you for anything except that you have an email account that you can just make one up that is completely detached from anything else. So you can make an email account. You can use any name you want in the app. We don't verify anything. We don't do KYC. We don't sell anything. The geolocation, which, some people don't like that. But so the way it works is this. The geolocation is approximate. So thankfully, Google and Apple find out that you don't need the precise geolocation unless you need to deliver pizza. So the geolocation that now they allow developers to use is called approximate. There is a 10 miles radius. So you can be anywhere in a 10 miles radius, but if I know that you're in that 10 miles block, I know roughly where you are. And that means I can show you people that are roughly close to you. Because obviously, if I'm 10 miles from you or 15 or 20, it's irrelevant. The point is that we're close enough that we could meet today if we wanted to. So everything is approximate and everything is rounded up. So in the app, if this is an opt-in, opt-out kind of feature, but you can see the distance from somebody else. And that distance is always rounded up. So if I see that Knut is 5 miles from me, it doesn't mean it's literally 5 miles from me. It means it's somewhere around 5 miles. But I will give you a challenge, Knut. You're a smart guy, and let's do this thought experiment. just to prove the point, how irrelevant the geolocation really is. So let's say that I tell you exactly to the centimeter how far I am from you right now. Well, let's say where we're not different side of the planet, right? Let's say I'm 9 miles, or that's 2 kilometers. I'm 9 kilometers and 323 meters from you. Okay, I give you my exact distance from you.
Yeah.
Now, and also I will tell you, if you find me, I will give you 10 Bitcoin. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Now,
quite a.
So it's good. It's good, right? It's good enough. Now, how would you find me?
I would consider myself in the middle of that circle. I would put myself, walk that distance in some direction, and then follow a circle to find you.
So it's a 360 circle.
Yeah, it's a circle with. You gave me the radius, and so I will take a promenade through the circumference of the circle to try to find you there somewhere there.
Okay, so the circle, so the radius is 9 point whatever kilometers. So
yeah.
Now what you gotta do? You gotta go to 9 kilometers from you, and then you have to go 360 all around.
Yeah.
So it's gonna take you days.
Yeah, I would have to walk 3.1415. I can only do that the 15 digits of pi in Swedish. 3,5926535 because I memorized it. But times whatever radius you gave me, that's the distance I'll have to walk. And there's probably be no road, because no road is precisely circular, especially not the roads that have me in the middle of the circle. I'm not aware of a circular road, anywhere close to where I am. So yeah, it'll be tricky.
And then what? You gotta knock on every single house that is in this path.
Yeah, and how do I know that you haven't moved?
Well, that's but even that's assuming. So this is how difficult to find somebody, even if you know the exact distance.
Well, if I have a drone, I'm going to make the life hard for you here. But if I have a drone, I could program it to go in the exact circle.
That's true. That's a good point.
Just mow everyone down.
That's probably the best. Yeah, that's probably the best thing you could do. But of course, the drone doesn't fly for more than 30 minutes, and then you have to land it and recharge it. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's a hassle.
But even then, I have to be outside my house for you to find me.
Yeah, right? Unless I have an X-ray sort of drone camera. Okay. But you made the point. It's getting ridiculous. So you made your point.
It's quite hard, right? It's quite hard. Now, I am not giving you my exact location. I'm giving you the approximate non-location distance, which is rounded up. That even I don't know how much it's random. So we made it random on purpose, that even I couldn't find it if I wanted to. So in the app, you can only see 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. In reality, it's probably 22.3. But I wouldn't know if I wanted to. And then, of course, what if I'm moving? What if I am moving or what if when I chat with you, I am on the train, right? It's and I'm moving.
So So the geolocation is basically just to see if there are other Bitcoiners in the town you live in.
Yeah,
and
or
the region, or in the vicinity of wherever you find yourself.
Right.
And but to actually meet them, you have to voluntarily, arrange a meeting somewhere. Yeah,
exactly. So that's the beauty.
Yeah,
the beauty is this: that unlike a meetup or a conference where you have to go first, show your face, sit down at a table with strangers, say, "Hi, I'm Knut. Are you in Bitcoin?" "Yes, me too." "Okay, great." It could get awkward, right? Like we've all been there. If you've been to a meetup, yeah, and then you have to drive, and maybe you're working, maybe it's raining, maybe your wife has to be, it's not scalable, right? Now with this app, you initiate the connection, or somebody else can initiate the connection. And you can only send one message, so there is no spam or like send 100 messages that, "Hey, I'm Knut. I see you're nearby. Let's go for a drink," whatever. Then I receive the message, and I decide. I check your profile, and then this and that, and I decide if I want to reply to you. And if I do, then we can chat for months before we meet. There is no rush. It's completely spontaneous. There is no a set date and time like a meetup where you have to go or else. It's one-on-one. It's spontaneous. It's private because you don't have to use your name and your picture. You can And then when you and I feel confident or comfortable, or if there is an energy that, this is a great guy, which, by the way, if you're in Bitcoin, it's almost always the case, right? Then we decide, okay, are you free tomorrow? Yeah, great. Let's go to this place, and let's have fun, or let's do this, or let's do that. So it's very, first of all, it's scalable because you can use this app anywhere on planet Earth. You don't need to go to a meetup. You don't need to go to a conference. You take this app out. The app will tell you, "Oh, Knut is nearby. Talk to him." Contact if you want to, right? So, and then the other piece of the equation is the geolocation is the biggest. Well, it's not the biggest. It's one of the complaints. Let's put it that way. Which hopefully I demonstrate how silly it is. But anyway. And by the way, just to close that chapter, the distance that I tell the other users, you can disable if you want. You don't have to show it. So the app would just show that I'm nearby without telling how far approximately I am from you. The other piece is the price, which I think it could get quite philosophical because, proof of work, proof of stake. So the app is membership-based, meaning if you do not pay, you cannot contact people in the app. So one easy way to understand it is this is kind of like a private club for Bitcoiners.
Can you still use the app and see what Bitcoiners are in your vicinity, but just not use the chat function, or can't you use the app at all?
So as of today, but we're actually building a guest mode for the exact scenario. So if you don't want to pay because you're not sure that there are going to be people nearby, which is fair enough, because obviously, we just launched, it takes time. And also we're global. So, we have users from like 42 countries, which is amazing. So of course, there's always the first guy, right? There's always the first guy, no matter what, somewhere. So we're going to build the guest mode where you don't have to pay to get to the homepage. But if you want to chat with people, then you have to get a membership. Now, the membership achieves a couple of things. First, building an app is expensive, and spending 24/7 means obviously everybody's got bills to pay. But secondly, having the membership allows us to not do advertising, which means I don't really care where you are when you're not using the app. So the geolocation point, right? If I was doing advertising, I would need to track you when you're not using the app, because I need to know you just went to Starbucks. So then I can sell your data point to Starbucks or competitors. So we don't do any of that because we don't do advertising. So the geolocation is only pulled when you open the app so that you can see nearby Bitcoiners, and that's the end of it. When you know on the app, we don't care where you are because we don't do advertising. So the membership achieves that. Also, the membership is a way that we filter out the noise, because obviously, there's scammers around, there are spammers and bots and NFT and people that are not really into Bitcoin. So how do we make sure that people that use this app, that then ideally you would go and meet in the real life are actually in Bitcoin, right? Because otherwise, what's the point of having this app to begin with? So the way we achieve that is to put a filter at the entrance. Again, private club. Pay, which is not a lot, by the way, it's $2.99 a month. And we just launched the Lightning Network payments, so you can pay in sats, which means you don't even need a credit card or a bank account. So anybody can really join. But the point being, by putting the filter, we increase the signal and we decrease the noise. Because, of course, if you're paying to use the app, it's more likely that you're actually going to use the app and you're actually going to reply to the messages and you're actually going to meet somebody. Because otherwise, why are you paying for the app, right? There's no need. So the price, I compare it to proof of work. It's the same exact concept of proof of work. Who gets to decide which transaction? Well, obviously there's the nodes, but the miners, right? They validate the blocks, blah, blah, blah. So because if you don't pay, you are in a proof of stake system, technically speaking. When you're using Facebook and you don't pay, you are the yield of Mark Zuckerberg, because it takes your activity on Facebook and monetize it for his own benefit. And the more you use Facebook, the more he makes. Because same concept proof of stake, right? The more coins you have stake, the more yield you're gonna get, right? On the proof of work, you have to work. So I am the proof of work blockchain of, let's say, social media, right? So once you pay to get in, I don't make more money if you send one message or 100 or 1,000, or if you go out one time or 3 times or 100 times. I get, I don't have any incentive to manipulate you the way Facebook does and Twitter and Instagram to be on the app 24/7, right? All these psychological acts that they keep you on the app, because it's a proof of stake system, and you need to be like the hamster in the spinning wheel, right? You need to be on Facebook, so that Mark Zuckerberg can make more money. So obviously I don't like that. And I believe that in a Bitcoin world, this system will not exist. This is a fiat world symptom. All this free stuff, it's absolutely a consequence of the fiat world where debt is cheap, so I can raise $10 million and I don't have to charge you, but then I will steal your data, and then your data is going to get leaked and hacked. And so bad people are going to have your email and your password and your profile picture and all that kind of stuff. This is a fiat world. This is one of the many ripples of the fiat world. So obviously, as a Bitcoin maxi, I want to get away as fast as possible from that system. So, for what you use, it's Austrian economics. Why wouldn't you pay when you go to buy a piece of bread? The baker doesn't say the bread is free, but when you go through the door, I have a camera and I look what you're wearing, and now I'm selling.
The thing is, the problem is that in the fiat world, people are allowed to say that things are free when they're not free, and the same goes for whenever something is paid by the government, it's advertised as being free, when in reality it's a bit more expensive because it didn't have the free market competition setting the price. So it's the same problem there. The thing, I mean, you say you're in 42 countries already, and the network is growing, obviously.
Yeah.
But how do you see this playing out? Can you really achieve the network effects of the big social networks? So obviously you cannot reach the same level as Twitter, because Twitter is not only for Bitcoiners, it's for everyone. So and how are you going to stop users from just using the guest mode and then reaching out to people on another social media app? I mean, that's a bit of a hassle, but
sure.
But then again, they don't have to pay $3 for it. So yeah.
Right. So I would say, and I hope it doesn't come out bad, but if you are the kind of person that download the app, get the guest mode, then to save $3, you probably shouldn't be in the app.
Then fuck you.
No, I'm actually happy that you're not in the app.
Yeah.
And this is not to sound.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point, because
this is not to sound elitist or anything like that.
No, but
just
to me
it's
makes
a high
perfect
signal,
sense.
low noise.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. You don't want those people in the app. You want quality people in the app. And if a paywall is, well, it's not really a paywall, it's a subscription model.
Yeah.
But it really does filter out the noise. And yeah, I think there's definitely a market for that.
So to answer your question, right? How do we become a big platform, right? Obviously, a couple of things. First of all, we launched on the 9th of November at Pacific Bitcoin. And as of today of recording, which is December 3rd, we have 500 users, give or take, which is quite a lot, considering that every user is a paying user. Every single one is paying. And actually, a funny story, you know the story about, because you're part of the team, but the original membership was $1.99 a month. And then I found out that some users would pay the $1.99 a month and then would spam everybody else, would send the same message to everybody else. And obviously, you're ruining the experience for everybody else, right? So I had to increase prices so that to disincentivize people like that from joining the app altogether. So what I'm doing with this is this, right? We're going after quality before quantity. If you meet somebody in real life that you didn't know and you're buying Bitcoin, and then most likely you're gonna become friends, is worth way more than $2. Way more, right? Now, if I can create all these connections all around the world, then it just follows that people are gonna talk about this app. Hey, I met this guy from the app. Now we're best friend. Now we're girlfriend, boyfriend, or now we start this big couple, right? So the example that I always give is this: Apple did not become the biggest seller of smartphones because it had a cheap, low-quality smartphone. They made the best possible smartphone they could make, and then everybody wanted that thing. So if we can connect people in real life through Bitcoin, people are just going to use it, and people are just going to tell people to use the app because obviously it's in their incentive. And I've seen it already in a month. There are people that do things that I would never expect. There are people that pay the membership and they don't even have the app because they don't have Android. They have an Android. They want to support the philosophy of the app, the concept of the app. People are paying double membership. People are going to podcasts to talk about Orange Pill app. They're not even part of it. It's mind blowing. It is not even 1 month, right? Because I think instinctively people understand that if you believe that Bitcoin obviously is not an investment or a technology, right? It's a movement. It's an ideology. It's a revolution. You do not change the world from the couch from the comfort of your house. You need to go out in the real world and make alliances and protests and this and that. And so the social layer of Bitcoin, if we are actually going to be in a Bitcoin standard world, you need to have the social layer. There's no other way around, right? And so I think people instinctively understand that there needs to be an easy way for us Bitcoiners to meet in real life. And so they want to support this project, even if they can't even use the app, or even if they don't have anybody in the. I have people, obviously, there's one guy in Brazil. There's the first guy in Brazil. There's nobody else in Brazil. There's one guy in Colombia. There's one guy in Taiwan. They're not gonna. I mean, as of today, they're not gonna meet anybody else. But they're supporting the project. They're supporting the mission. They understand how important it is to build the social layer of Bitcoin. And the other thing that I realized, that I found out, is that people, even if they cannot meet people nearby, because obviously, we're still growing. I mean, we just started. They appreciate that there is a place where you can talk to other Bitcoiners, and they're Bitcoiners because they pay for the app. They pay for a brand new app, right? And they just talk between themselves. It's kind of like Bitcoin Twitter, but the real one, because everybody's paying to use it, and it's heavily marketed for Bitcoin. There's no Twitter Blue and NFT logo, blah blah blah. So yeah, so I really, I mean, I'm shocked in a way by the response from the plebs and the way they've embraced this project, way more than what I anticipated. I mean, in my head, it always made sense that you want to meet people like you. That is obvious. But the way the plebs have helped the project and helped me with ideas and this and that, it kind of made me realize that, obviously, stay humble and stack sats. Actually, stay humble and stack friends. But this could be quite a big piece of hyperbitcoinization, right? How do you find people that you can do commerce in real life, locally in sats? How do you start this Bitcoin circular economy if you cannot find a merchant that you can pay in sats? You can't. Like, I can buy your book. I can buy your book in sats through Consensus Network. That's great. But this is digital, right? But imagine when there's a dentist and the plumber and the farmer, and you do everything in sats. How beautiful is that?
Yeah, and that's just one part. Using Bitcoin for monetary transactions is just one small part of what you can actually do once you meet other Bitcoiners. It's pure, powder keg meets spark. That's what
right.
That's what happens when Bitcoiners meet in real life. So I think this app is going to add immense value to the Bitcoin network as a whole, because of this. It's all about connecting people. Money is about connecting people. It's about interactions, voluntary, consensual interactions between human beings. And what could be more beautiful than that? That's the best thing we have.
Right.
So
I'm just making it easy. That's all.
Yeah,
I'm just making it as easy as possible.
Yeah, and we appreciate it a lot. We're coming up on 2 hours soon here, so I think we should round this off. It's been a fascinating conversation, Matteo, and thank you very much for sharing your story and the stuff about the shitcoinery, especially, because that's not everyone would do that. But then again, I guess Bitcoin, incentivizes honesty, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
So once you open up to the world and you say to it, here I am, this is me, I'm a human being, I'm flawed just as everyone else, but I have some good stuff going too, with just as everyone else. So this is what I have to offer. Then your life becomes instantly better. So thank you for all of that.
When is the Android version coming out?
There you go. When
Very good question.
No, I absolutely, we're pushing it as hard as we can on launching Android, because 50% of the plebs are on Android. January for sure. January, hopefully early January, but if not,
let's say Q1.
Q1 is very vague. January. I like to give myself that line, because that's usually helpful.
That's nice, because I think that a lot of Bitcoiners might move to Android phones now that Apple is allegedly removing Twitter from their app store.
Yeah.
So yeah, and if they can remove Twitter, they can remove Orange Pill app. So yeah,
most likely.
So we'll see what happens in the future. I'm not calling anyone a winner or loser in this. Looking forward to seeing the Android release as well, and looking forward to using the iPhone a bit more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have an Android, Knut, but you've seen it. You've seen the app.
I have both now.
Yeah, you're a double agent.
Yeah, I'm a double agent.
You're a double agent. Yeah. No, Android is I cannot wait to have Android, because obviously it would pretty much double the user base overnight.
Yeah.
Which means that the likelihood that you're gonna have somebody nearby to meet, they just double up. So the more the people we can get on board, which is why we just launched the Lightning Network payments, same idea, because some people have told me, hey, I love your idea, I want to be on the app, but I don't want to pay with fiat, which makes perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense.
And so we just launched Lightning Network payments, so you can get a membership through the Lightning Network, which, by the way, from a business standpoint, is 1 billion times better than going through Apple that first takes 30% commission, which is mind-blowing. And if that's not enough, they don't pay you out for 45 days. And why would they do that? Because fiat world, you get paid interest every day. You keep the money in the bank. So now think about how much lower the economy is going, because I cannot hire people or pay people to do stuff until 45 days.
Yeah, it's just sad.
Right?
Another thing, you're collaborating with BTCMap also.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So BTCMap have finally cracked the code for Bitcoin merchants. So they have a huge database of Bitcoin merchants, and we have partnered with them. So we're gonna use their API, and so this one I could say Q2 2023. So at some point in 2023, you're gonna be able to, from the app, where you really do all this stuff, where you find all your friends and girlfriends and boyfriends and blah, blah, blah. There's going to be a map where you can see the merchants nearby, which obviously, again, Bitcoin circular economy, spend sats, so all through the app. So to close the app, the idea of Orange Pill app is that if something is physical and it is related to Bitcoin, whether it's an event or a friendship or a business or a merchant, is going to be into Orange Pill app. So everything that is physical related to Bitcoin will be in one place that you can easily find wherever you go on planet Earth.
Yeah, that sounds like a great app, and it already is, and it's getting better all the time. So finally, I'd like to promote Free Madeira again. Because if you go to the island of Madeira, you will find a bunch of Orange Pill app users there. So you can already use the app and find quite a lot of stuff there.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Madeira should be a huge. First of all, I'm very excited what you guys are building down there.
Thank you.
I can't wait to visit. I will probably visit next summer because I'm from Italy and I like swimming. I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, but that should be a great initiative, and we hope we can help you guys spreading and building connections faster than if you didn't have the app and you have to do meetups or email, whatever you guys doing.
Yep. So we're working on several fronts here, collaborating in all sorts of ways, and it's a great journey to be a part of for sure.
Matteo, where can people find you, and where can people find the Orange Pill app?
Sure. So Twitter, Orange Pill app, just Orange Pill app. Online, the main domain is theorangepillup.com. So Twitter, Instagram at Orange Pill app. The website is theorangepillup.com, and obviously the app is called the Orange Pill app. The app is called Orange Pill app.
Fantastic. And did you want to share your Twitter handle, or is that more you keep that?
Yeah, I still have my Twitter handle from my anonymous days, which is at Ryan DeLongpre. So Ryan, RyanDelongpre.
Okay, perfect.
Now I'm doxed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but only to people who managed to listen to you for 2 hours, so it should be okay.
That's a good filter. It's almost like paying to use the app, right?
Exactly. You had to pay with the time and attention for 2 hours.
There you go.
Perfect. And thanks again for coming on the show. Really excited to see the app in use. I'm waiting for the Android version personally, but looking forward to seeing where this goes, all the great ideas. Sounds like a great addition to the Bitcoin space. So thanks again for coming to tell us about it and to tell us about your story.
Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Knut. It was a great pleasure to spend 2 hours with you. Now I'm going to buy a Christmas tree and it's going to be a great day.
Thank you, Matteo. Talk to you soon again.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot. Take care. And now just to wrap up, thanks again for listening or watching to the Freedom Footprint Show. Just a reminder, if you'd like to support the show, the best way you can do that is on value for value apps such as Fountain or Breeze. You can stream us some sats or send us a boost if you are getting value for your time on this. And the other way you can do that is by sharing the show on social media, subscribing to the Consensus Network YouTube channel. Those are all great ways you can help support the show, and we appreciate it. And the other thing you can do is you can go to KnutSvanholm.com for all of his merchandise. He's wearing the Everything Divided by 21 Million shirt right now, plus all of his books and everything else. Knut, this has been the Freedom Footprint Show. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
Live long and prosper.